Hey there, self-care warriors. Welcome back to Self-Care Haven. Today I'm going to teach you the 5 steps to becoming an empowered empath. And I wanted to start this video with a little bit of a discussion on what it means to be an empath. So if you are a highly empathic individual and you are an empath, you tend to soak up the emotions, the feeling states of others, and their energy. You tend to be very in tune with other people's energy. You're very intuitive about what other people are feeling around you. And unfortunately, you tend to internalize a lot of that. So as empaths, it's really, really important to protect our sacred space, our psychological space, our emotional space, and for some who believe in energy work, our energetic space. So the first tip that I want to talk about is setting boundaries. So setting boundaries is incredibly important for an empath who tends to become very enmeshed with the feeling states of others. And it's really, really important as an empath to at least have one list of boundaries. I recommend at least 10 non-negotiable boundaries that you will basically have as reference. Whenever you're interacting with someone, you'll have it in the back of your mind what your boundaries are. And these 10 non-negotiable boundaries are basically sacred vows that you take for yourself in order to protect yourself from the toxic influences of others, whether they be narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, or just simply boundary oversteppers and trespassers. And, if you didn't have this list in mind, you would probably endure multiple violations of people overstepping your boundaries, and you wouldn't be able to stand up for yourself and assert yourself in a way that protects that sacred space. So it's really important to have this list, and this list can be very basic, very rudimentary, because as empaths, we tend to forget basic boundaries. We tend to let people come into our space, we invite them in because we tend to be very helpful, very compassionate, very empathic human beings. And what often happens is that people tend to take advantage of that. And whether they are toxic, malignant narcissists, or whether they're just people with issues, they tend to overstep our boundaries. And they tend to take advantage of what we're giving. And what often happens is that they drain our energy to the point where we have no energy left for ourselves. So having those boundaries is very important. So, for example, if you had one basic boundary that you needed to keep as a sacred vow to yourself, what would it be? And then start from there and make a list of at least 10. And so maybe your boundary will be something like, I will not be spoken down to by a condescending mofo. That might be one of your boundaries. Whatever way you want to say it, whatever way that you want to present it as, that can be a boundary because it's all up to you. It's customized to your needs, your wants, your desires, your expectations. So don't apologize for having these boundaries. These are the basic boundaries that probably everyone in this universe is entitled to. But unfortunately, as empaths, we don't really learn how to set boundaries early on because we're always giving and we're always so overwhelmed by the pain of others, and we tend to be very overwhelmed by their emotions, their issues, their problems. And when it comes to narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths, they tend to project their issues onto us, and we tend to internalize those issues. So it's really important to have those boundaries, have a non-negotiable sacred contract with ourselves about what those boundaries are, define them very clearly so that if a person tends to overstep those boundaries or violate those boundaries, even though they've been told that these are your boundaries, then we can know and understand who to filter out from our lives and who to weed out from our lives. The second step that I would recommend is extreme self-care. Now, what does extreme self-care mean? Extreme self-care means asking yourself the question every day, what do I need today? What do I need for myself? What do I need in order to feel good? And it's all about taking this idea, this connotation of selfish out of self-care, and instead see how self-care can be very selfless. Because once you have more energy for yourself, and once you are giving yourself the nourishment and the basic needs and wants that you need in order to feel happy and joyful, then you'll realize that you have more joy to give to this world. And by doing this, you check in with yourself multiple times every day and you ask yourself, what do I need at this very moment? Do you need to go to a yoga class? Do you need to meditate? Do you need a breather? Do you need to take a walk outside and connect with nature? Whatever it is, do it. Listen to your inner guidance, listen to your inner voice, and don't ignore the voice that tells you that you need to focus on your own self-care. Even if you're in the middle of helping someone, you can still check in with yourself and ask yourself, what do I really need in order to best help this person? Do I need to take a break? Do I need a meditation break? Do I need to be more mindful about what's happening? Do I need to start breathing more mindfully? There's so many different techniques and methods that you can use to check in with yourself, even when you are in the middle of working or healing or helping and doing your activism for the world. Whatever you're doing, it's important to check in with yourself, and that is the art of extreme self-care. The third step that I want to talk about is energy work. And so you don't have to think of energy work as some far out spiritual exercise that you don't believe in. Energy work can simply be clearing your sacred space, whether that be an emotional space, a psychological space, or even a physical space. It's really important to clear up the sacred space around us. And you can do this by engaging in exercise, reconnecting with nature. Nature can be very healing and cleansing, and research has definitely shown the effects of nature on the brain and on our mood, and it has a very beneficial effect. So connecting with nature can be very cleansing, can be very healing. It can clear some of the negative energy around us. Mindfulness, so really taking time to breathe, connect with what's going around you on your five senses. Meditating, definitely just taking that time and space in order to reconnect with what's happening in this very moment and breathing through it is incredibly important for empaths, because they tend to soak up all of that energy. They tend to soak up all of the emotions of others. And it's important to reconnect with our own emotions and our own authentic self. And some people may find it healing to do other energy work, like burning incense, doing chakra healing meditations. In my book, I link to multiple different meditations that I offer to my coaching clients, but I've decided to make it available to my ebook readers. And these types of meditations help you clear that energy space. They help you clear whatever kind of violation that has happened to you that has caused this kind of interruption in your energy, and they help you reconnect with yourself and your authenticity. I always recommend when clearing your energy to engage in a form of exercise at least every week, if not daily, because that can serve as a physical outlet for all of the emotions that might be trapped in your body and in your mind. For me personally, I love running on the treadmill, but you may not like running on the treadmill. So it's important to choose a form of exercise that you really enjoy. I also love dancing. So I've taken classes in ballet, even things like hip hop and dance cardio classes, which are very energetic, and they tend to get me into a better mood, and they tend to clear my energy very quickly, and I'm able to channel any of those trapped emotions into that energetic movement. So energetic movement can be very healing, and it can be a very important component of energy clearing, especially when you're dealing with toxic people, whether you're dealing with it in your family, your workplace, your interpersonal relationships, your friendships, your romantic relationships, wherever you're encountering these people, even if they're strangers on the street, they can come in any form and any influence in any context. It's really important that we engage in a form of exercise in order to release those trapped emotions, in order to empower ourselves, and in order to basically give ourselves a kind of forward movement, and a forward movement into this type of space that we really want. And this type of space needs to be as clear as possible if we want to achieve our goals, if we want to achieve our dreams, because all those trapped emotions are going to probably come out in maladaptive ways if we don't address them and if we don't channel them productively. So writing can also be a source of energy clearing as well, because you're basically channeling all of that pain into a document and you are seeing it really manifest onto paper or onto the laptop screen. So writing can be another way to clear energy, and there's so many different ways, but I just wanted to bring those up because I feel like those are really great methods in order to start doing some of that sacred energy work. And related to this, the fourth step that I would recommend is visualization. So as empaths, because we tend to, like I said, get enmeshed in the identities of others, in their personalities, their issues, their emotions, what often happens is that we don't have boundaries around ourselves that say that we are a separate entity from other people, and this can be very damaging and harmful when it comes to toxic people. So we need to visualize that there is some sort of physical barrier around our bodies, our space, because otherwise we will probably be very susceptible to the influence of others. So it's important to basically remind ourselves that we are a separate person. We don't have to take on the projections of others. We don't have to take on their gaslighting, their verbal abuse. We don't have to let them define us. We can only define ourselves. And because this type of visualization focuses on what distinguishes us from others, it helps us to understand how we are separate people with separate emotions, opinions, and we have a right to that. We are entitled to that space for ourselves. So visualize white light around you, visualize a brick wall if you want to, whatever you want to visualize. You can get creative and start to visualize that there is something between yourself and this other person, whether or not that person is toxic, and that you are able to stay in touch and stay centered within yourself, your own inner guidance and your own intuition, and that gut instinct that is so super important as empaths, because that gut instinct can tell us everything we need to know about a person within seconds, and we often ignore that gut instinct. And related to that, the fifth step that I would recommend is create a selective community. So you have to be able to, as empaths, filter out the people that are going to leave you starving. We need people who are going to nourish us, who are going to feed us, who are going to engage in reciprocal relationships with us. We can't be the one who's always giving. Now, even if you're in a healing profession, remember to stick to your boundaries when it comes to healing others or helping others. I'm not talking necessarily about that type of context, but I'm talking about everyday relationships that we have with others, like friendships, romantic relationships, and in general, we need to start to raise our standards for reciprocity, because we want our relationships to be reciprocal. We want people who are going to be able to give as much as we give to them. And so it's really important to surround yourself with people who appreciate you, who honor you, who respect you and see your worth. And if they are, in some way mistreating you, they're able to look at that very honestly and authentically, and they're able to improve themselves. And they're not going to be like narcissists and sociopaths who tend to really project all those malignant traits onto you, who tend to take no accountability for their actions. These are people who are okay with self-improvement. They are okay with listening to your boundaries. They respect and honor what you need and want from them just as much as they benefit from what you give to them. So it's really important to have those reciprocal relationships in our lives, even if we are healers, where there tends to be more of a giving type relationship and interaction. It's important to still set boundaries, even if you are a healer or you came into this universe and you are here to help others. There is a personality type that tends to be more affiliated with being an empath than others, and that is INFJ. So I would say I found out that I was an INFJ around the age of 18. I took the Myers-Briggs test, and the INFJ personality type popped up, and I read all the characteristics as well as the possible careers and everything associated with that personality type, and it started making a lot of sense. And I realized that that personality type tends to be associated with a high degree of empathy and sensitivity, and that does make us healers, but it also means that we have a lot to deal with in this world. It means that we tend to have people in our lives that are attracted to our energy. So As an empath, you're going to be very, very attractive to a wide variety of people, both toxic and non-toxic. And these can be people from all different sorts of backgrounds and personality types themselves. We are not just attracting, narcissists and sociopaths. We're also attracting really good people as well, other empaths. But we will also attract the other side of the spectrum, which is people who try to take our energy from us. People who take advantage of the fact that we're compassionate, that we're empathic, that we're here to listen to others, and that we want to give to this world. So really keep that in mind whenever you're meeting someone new. Trust your gut instinct. If you get a bad feeling when you first interact with them, know that as an empath, your emotions, your intuition is a little bit more highly sharpened, I would say, than people who are not as in touch with their own emotions, who are not as in touch with emotions in general of other people. And so as an empath, you have that gift of really feeling what other people are feeling around you. And use that gift very wisely. It doesn't mean that you get to just invite anybody into the sacred house of your psyche. It means that you are selectively going to choose who gets to come into your sacred house. It means that you get to choose and filter out and weed out the people who are going to trample upon your boundaries, who are going to leave your sacred house a mess, and they're going to be walking around with their dirty shoes, and they're not going to clean up after themselves. You don't want that type of person coming into your sacred space. And so as an empath or as an INFJ or both, you will have to deal with that conundrum of having all sorts of people coming into your space and trying to overstep and basically coming in uninvited. And that's when it becomes extremely important to engage in self-care. It becomes extremely important to clear your energy. It becomes extremely important to select your community and the people that you choose to surround yourself with. So I hope these 5 steps help. Let me know in the comments below, what have you done as an empath to basically protect your space from malignant people and toxic people? I hope this video has been validating to you. If you want to take the Myers-Briggs test, I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well. And if I have any books on being an empath, I'll make sure to include that in the description box so you can check those out. I'll talk to you guys very soon, and until then, take care.